of 20. And didn't you win the Daytona 500?
Yes.
How many times?
4 times.
That's all? That's terrible. I can't believe it. Anyway, if you win it once, it's like great. The guy's amazing. He's a genius, and a real genius at cars and racing. And they are going to put up something that's really amazing. It's really having to do with our great 250th birthday, where we're having so many wonderful things. UFC is coming, as you know, in front of the White House with a building literally a stadium. We're going to have over 100,000 people. And this is going to have a lot of people. I won't even say how many people, because I think it can set a record for racing. It's going to be very, very important. We're celebrating greatness with American motor racing. That's going to be the name of the event. It's going to take place on August 21st through the 23rd. And it's going to be so exciting. And I love the racing. I don't have a lot of time to watch it, but I love the racing. And just before we start, I will say numbers came out this morning. They're phenomenal for the country. So we announced yesterday that for the first time in, I think, 28 years, America made more steel than Japan. Can you believe it? Japan's a big steel country. America made more steel than Japan. The numbers are record-setting numbers. Every one of our numbers are good. We've never had anything like it. We have over $18 trillion coming into our country. We're building thousands of plants and all sorts of businesses all over the United States. It's never been anything like it. $18 trillion investment. So we have over $18 trillion being invested in the United States of America. The record was $3 trillion 10 years ago, not by us, by another country. And we're going to do 18, and I think the 18 is going to go higher. We're just looking at 11 months. The 12th month hasn't come in yet, but it's going to bring us over 18, maybe even hit 20. So you have 18 to $20 trillion coming in, and we've never had anything like it. We have a record we just set, as you know. The S&P 500 just set a new record, 7,000. Nobody thought that was possible in this quick a time. They thought maybe at the end of 4 years or 5 years or 6 years. But we did it in the first year. And we had 48 stock market highs, Roger. So Roger's a big beneficiary because he has a lot of stock. But anybody that has stock, including people with 401ks. So the economy has never been like this. It was just announced that crime is at an all-time low. Best numbers on crime in the recorded history of our country, and the lowest numbers of murders in the history of our country that we have. Recorded history goes back 125 years. That's not bad. And a lot of that is because of the fact that we have a closed border. We've taken out thousands and thousands of criminals and murderers and drug dealers and everything else. And we've either brought them back to their country, or in some cases we have to put them in our jails because we don't want to have them come back. And so we don't want to just bring them back to their country and then they maybe come back. Despite our border, they're pretty sneaky, pretty smart. So we're doing things that nobody's ever seen before. The country is really in great shape. We have a large armada, flotilla, you can call it whatever you want, heading toward Iran right now, even larger than what we had in Venezuela. It's still in front of Venezuela. The Venezuelan situation, the leadership is doing a very good job. We're very happy, and we're getting along very, very well. And we're inviting countries of the world very shortly. They're going to be starting to take the oil. We're going to be heading that with the country, and it's worked out really well. We're now sending actually a larger number of ships to Iran, and hopefully we'll make a deal. If we do make a deal, that's good. If we don't make a deal, we'll see what happens. But this is going to be exciting. So I'm going to ask, and he really is a legend. He's a great man. I've known him for a tremendously long time. I refuse to say we were both young. Now we're both a little older. We refuse to say old, but we're a little older. But Roger Penske is the chairman, as you know, of Penske Corporation. He's got everything you can imagine, mostly, I think, to do with automotive. And I'd like to ask him to say a few words about the event, because this is going to be, they're putting everything behind it, and I think it's going to be really exciting. Roger, please.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. This is really amazing time for us as a company to support the 250th anniversary for the country. And there's no better way for us to bring automotive and speed into the D.C. area and to have the opportunity to be able to compete here with our Indy cars. As you know, we own the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and we are taking that history of over 100 years and the speed and what's taken place there with the different manufacturers and bringing it here to this race will be amazing. Certainly the Freedom 250, when you think about it, it's just a byproduct of what the president has done during this year, and this will be an event obviously in August, which will make a huge difference, and we're excited. Be areas for people to see. Most of the grounds will be free, so it's going to be an economic benefit to the area, to the city, and obviously with our Fox partner, Eric Shanks, will be our media partner. And believe me, what they did for us at Indy this past year, they're going to take that and put it on steroids, really, and take it to the next level. So thank you, Mr. President, for allowing us to come into your city.
That's so great, Roger.
Thank you.
Great man. Eric, I'd like to have you say a few words. He's done a fantastic job at Fox, and he's really excited about this, and I know they're going to lay it on the line. Eric, please.
Sure. Well, thank you, Mr. President, for having us here today. Big shout out to Secretary Duffy. This project was kind of on life support until you stepped in recently and got us here today. Secretary Burgum, your team has been absolutely incredible.
Explain how many times you came to Washington trying to do this.
I think Bud came here 81 times.
81 meetings I had in Capitol Hill.
Meeting with senators, meeting with people at the Capitol, and they all wanted it. Everybody wanted it, but they couldn't figure it out. It was crazy. 80 some odd times. That's pretty amazing. So go ahead, please.
Well, it's a real honor to be a partner with Roger and IndyCar. And at Fox Sports, we do the biggest events in sports. This year we have the FIFA World Cup that we'll be celebrating here as well. And then dovetailing right after that, to be able to celebrate America's birthday on Fox is an absolutely incredible honor. And everyone at Fox Sports can't wait to see exactly how this is going to unfold and bring it to life. So, Mr. President, thank you again for signing this today.
And the big thing, it's August 21st through the 23rd, and I believe the race is on the 23rd, right?
Yes.
That's going to be incredible. They're going to have practice sessions. It's going to be just a very exciting period, I think, for Washington. If I could, I'd like to ask Sean Duffy, Secretary of Transportation, who's terrific and doing a great job. Much more important than Sean is we have Rachel Campos Duffy here, and she's one of the greatest people I know and one of the greatest people on television. So most of you know her, but I don't think we'll have her speak about the race because she knows less about it than anybody up here. But she is fantastic. Sean, please.
So the president gave us all a directive, which I'm grateful for. We're going to celebrate America's 250th birthday, and he asked all of us to think outside the box. How do we make this historic and cool, and let's all do this together? And he loves the country and loves the birthday, and so we at DOT were working on this concept. We didn't know at the same time Penske was working on the same project too. And so we've come together, and Doug has been a wonderful partner. But to think 190 miles an hour down Pennsylvania Avenue, this is going to be wild. The last time we had a race in the capital city, Bud, was when?
1801, Thomas Jefferson with a horse race.
A horse race in 1801, Mr. President. Now we're going to do a real race.
That's so great. That's such a good.
So listen, this doesn't happen. You know, we just don't come in and ask the president to sign. There's a lot of work that goes into this, as you can tell. Bud and my chief of staff Pete all had a lot of meetings on the Hill. We couldn't be more excited about this. Again, I'm going to repeat, this is free for the American people to come to your nation's capital and see a great road race. Freedom, America, speed, and road racing. It doesn't get more American than that, Mr. President. So thank you for signing this, and thanks for all your support.
Fantastic, and what a job you've done. They put it together very quickly. They've been coming here for years, and everybody wanted it. You know, every senator wants it, every Congress, everybody wants it, but they don't get things done.
Only Mr. President.
Trump gets things done. We didn't have 89 meetings. We had maybe a half a meeting. I think this is probably about a half a meeting. I'd like to thank Pete Meacham for the great job you've done representing us, and Luke Bunting. These are two young people that work with us, and they've really been fantastic. I'd like to ask Doug Burgum to say a few words. He's very much involved through his position of interior, because a lot of the space is interior. He sort of has, I think he's the largest landlord anywhere in the world by far. So Doug, could you say a few words, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Mr. President. This birthday that's coming up, the 250th anniversary of America, Freedom 250, is the most monumental birthday maybe of any country ever in the history of the world. And President Trump, with his directive to celebrate this thing, we've got what's more American than race car driving? What's more monumental than the Indy 500 as an icon of what's going on in our country? And so merging the history and the tradition of our capital, Washington, D.C., with the speed and the innovation that goes on in the IndyCar series is incredible. And it's a great metaphor, because the speeds we're talking about is the speed of President Trump. I want to reiterate, there weren't 81 meetings with the Trump administration. I think it was, they called President Trump. He got Sean and I going, and that was like from Saturday till now, we have a race.
1 week.
1 week we have a race, as opposed to like 4 months of talking. So I think there's also a metaphor here about President Trump, who's an incredible sportsman. He's an athlete himself, but he loves sports. And so whether it's soccer, UFC, the football draft, NFL football draft coming, IndyCar, and all the teams that he hosts here, I mean, to any American who loves sports, you ought to love this president, because he's bringing professional sports to our capital. And again, August 21st to 23rd, you talk about the economic impact. By the time all those reporters get done telling the story, there's not going to be a hotel room available in this city on that weekend, because everybody's going to want to be here. Right. People that maybe have wanted to see an IndyCar race their whole life are now going to have an opportunity to come to their capital, celebrate 250, and see an IndyCar race for free. And they're going to be able to see it on the National Mall. And wherever you put down your lawn chair and watch this race for free, you're going to be staring at the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial, the Jefferson Memorial. And I'm sure there's going to be fireworks this weekend too. I'm sure of that. And if you need a permit, you can get one from Interior. So anyway, it's absolutely incredible. And congratulations to Sean, the Penske organization, Fox Sports, everybody for putting together. This is going to be a great celebration for America.
Thank you very much, and you're doing a fantastic job. Could I just ask Bud Danker, who's the president of Penske Corporation, to say a few words, please?
Well, thank you, Mr. President. You know, Eric Shanks and I from Fox had this dream, and just last July, and could it ever be possible to bring a race to our nation's capital to celebrate our country's history? And everybody said there's no way. It's impossible. How do you put a race on at 190 miles an hour in a city like Washington, D.C.? I came here, I walked this area for a while, I found a racetrack on the Capitol grounds, up against a lot of meetings, and couldn't get the kind of support we need. So within a week, Secretary Duffy and we put this together with the president, didn't we? And now we have a race here on our city property, on the national properties, that is going to celebrate America. The word free shouldn't be overridden, because we are going to have a free event here. People come out and celebrate our country's history. I also want to thank Mayor Bowser. She has been a great partner in this process as well too. So I know, Mr. President, she's a great supporter of what you've done here in the city as well too, and we thank her for this. But we're going to have an amazing event. We're going to make everybody in this country proud. We want everybody to come out for free and enjoy this and celebrate our country the way it should be here in the nation's capital. Thank you, Mr. President.
And I said, pick the best site. It's very important. Pick the best site. Don't go for second or third, because there are a lot of different routes. I said, pick, even if it's more difficult to get approved, pick the absolute best site. And they were actually looking at another site, and when I said that, they said, well, the best site is this site, the site we're doing. I said, let's take a look at it, and we think it's the best site too. It's actually better than the original site they were looking at, but if we're going to do it, we want to do it right. So this is going to be something in terms of the road width, the crowds, and everything else that we can all. The best site, one of the best sites I've ever seen, actually, and it'll be beautiful. So I'm going to sign this. And if you have any questions on this subject, that'd be great. We just named a new Fed chairman today. You know that? He's Central Casting. He's like Roger Penske, Central Casting. You know him, Roger? Very good guy. Roger, no auto pen. I didn't use an auto pen. Here, Roger, take that.
I will.
Thank you. Oh, that's great.
Here you go, my man. I don't want to sign each letter. You know, they sign each letter. They hand pens. I used to watch these presidents. One letter. You got to see what it looks like at the end. Never looks too good. Here, Rachel, take that. That's for your team.
Thank you.
Congratulations. This is really exciting.
Thank you, John.
And Chair nominee, since you just brought it up, did Kevin Warsh commit to you that he will push to cut interest rates if he is confirmed?
No, but we talk about it, and I've been following him, and I don't want to ask him that question. I think it's inappropriate, probably. It probably would be allowed, but I want to keep it nice and pure. But he certainly wants to cut rates. I've been watching him for a long time.
Senator Thomas Tillis.
Did you have any concerns about his hawkish history of pushing for rate hikes?
He's going to want to do the same thing. I think that, yeah, I've had times when I think you've had to really have rate hikes too. But he's very smart, very good, strong, young, pretty young, and I think he's going to do a good. I mean, he was the central casting guy that people wanted. Kevin was great. I tell you what, I met numerous people. Every one of them were fantastic, really fantastic. I wanted to keep Kevin here, and I thought that I called Kevin 1, Kevin 2, and we have. I said it's going to be a Kevin, but. Kevin really has been fantastic at the White House. You all know him. You know him very well. And so we have Kevin W.
Are you concerned, Mr. President, about the confirmation hearings? We've heard
No.
Senator Tillis.
No.
Do you think with the DOJ investigation that's going on?
This is in the whole country. I would say that this was the perfect candidate. This was not a surprise or anything. This was the man that's most qualified. Top student, best schools, everything was like perfect. The youngest person ever to serve on the Fed. Got the whole package. Looks don't mean anything, but he's got the look, right? Roger, looks don't mean anything, but if they have the look, it's okay. But he's got the whole package, and I think he's going to do a great job, and he loves the country.
Mr. President, why are you
Wait. Please, in the back, yes.
Are you giving Iran any kind of deadline to make a deal before potentially taking
Only
military
they
action?
know for sure.
Have you communicated that to them
Yeah,
directly?
I have.
Mr. President, do you have a timeline for when you're going to pull back potentially the federal presence there?
No, we'll see how it all works out. They have to float someplace. They might as well float near Iran. But it's a rough situation going on. So I stopped 837 people, as you know, last week from being hung. They were going to hang 830. It was all set. And I'm looking at the people behind me. They say, "What kind of racing's a lot nicer than that?" They were going to hang 837 people, and I told them, "If you do it, you're going to pay a price like nobody's ever paid before." And they pulled back. I appreciated that. But a lot of people are being killed, so we'll see what happens. I can say this: they do want to make a deal.
Virginia flipped the governors, and now they're looking at 50 proposals to increase taxes. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's terrible. I think a lot of people will leave Virginia. I saw that. Look, Glenn was a friend of mine, Glenn Youngkin, and worked so hard on cutting taxes. This woman came in, and in one swoop, she raised everything up higher than it ever was. I don't understand it. I mean, people voted for Democrat. But she came in and she raised, and I'll work with her like I work with everyone else, but she came into Virginia, raised everything to a point like taxes that nobody ever even heard of before. And I don't understand. How do people get elected with this kind of philosophy? This is only in the very modern age. I grew up and I've always heard politicians will cut taxes, everybody screaming we're going to cut taxes. I cut taxes. I gave you the biggest tax cut in the history of our country, in the great big beautiful bill. No tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. Interest deductions, Roger, when somebody buys a car, they can deduct the interest if they borrow money. That's the biggest thing in terms of the car business, right?
American-made ones.
Correct. So we have, I give tax cuts and they give tax increases. I don't know how they get elected. They get elected because they cheat. You want to know the truth? If they didn't cheat, They'd have no chance. They have horrible policy. Transgender for everyone. They have the little thing about open borders so that the world's prison population and mental hospitals can be emptied into our country. It's just a crazy. Men playing in women's sports. Roger, are you a fan of men playing in women's sports? Only as a bettor. You'd like to bet. You're not a big fan. I don't think so. I don't want to get him in trouble, but I think he joins in 99% of. They say it's an 80-20 issue. I think it's maybe 99. It's 99-1.
Mr. President, why are you suing our administration and the IRS? Why are you suing?
Who are you with?
I'm with ABC News.
You're a loud person. Very loud. Let somebody else have a chance.
Can you answer the question? Why are you suing IRS?
ABC fake news.
You're suing.
Go ahead. I didn't call on you. Go ahead, please. Go ahead. Yeah.
Do you think the upcoming
ABC,
talks,
by the way, is truly one of the worst. Go
do you
ahead.
think the upcoming talks between Russia and Ukraine stand a chance without U.S. envoy Witkoff and Jared Kushner there?
I think they stand a chance. We've been trying. I've ended 8 wars. All of them I thought were going to be maybe tougher than this one. But Zelensky and Putin hate each other, and it makes it very difficult. But I think we're getting very close to getting a settlement. Hundreds of thousands of people, mostly soldiers, have been killed. Last week they lost 29,000 people. Last month they lost 29,000 soldiers. Can you believe that, fellas? 29,000. You lose one race driver, and it's a big deal. 29,000 soldiers in 1 month. 27,000 the month before. I think that we have a good chance of getting it settled. Yeah, ma'am, please.
Mr. President, on the Warsh nomination, what is your strategy for getting past the hold that Senator Tillis has on this process? He said he won't allow.
Well, that's that kind of thinking is why he's no longer a senator. He's going to be out of office. It's too bad. I always liked Senator Tillis actually, but he did some things that were not smart. And whatever. I mean, if he doesn't approve, we'll just have to wait till somebody comes in that will approve it, right? So that's it. But I saw that. He wants to be an obstructionist. But we have a lot of obstructionists. I've had a lot. And we've created the best presidency maybe ever. Yeah.
If Iran doesn't make a deal, is your plan to replicate there what you just did in Venezuela?
I don't want to say that. I don't want to talk about anything having to do with what I'm doing militarily. But we have a tremendously powerful fleet there. We have the most powerful ships in the world. We have the most powerful military by far in the world. We showed that on numerous occasions. I mean, I rebuilt the military in my term. If I didn't I wouldn't, I think, be able to say that. But I rebuilt the military, the entire United States military in my first term. And now we're building it bigger, better, stronger than ever before. I'm adding to it. We're adding something called a battleship. You would find this interesting. The old-fashioned, beautiful battleships. And we're adding up to 25 of them. Each battleship is 100 times more powerful than the battleships of the 1940s, those big, powerful ones with the guns, because of what the ships carry. But we're going to build 10, and then we'll see how we like them, and we're going to go and do another 15 after that. It could be up to 25 battleships. 100 times more powerful. Can you imagine that? And it's peace through strength. We don't want to use them, but if we have to use them, we will.
Mr. President, on the Fed, should the DOJ continue with its investigation into Jay Powell? That seems to be a sticking point for Senator Tillis.
Well, he's got a building that, I build buildings, and I build them under budget, ahead of schedule. I build them, but they're within reason always. And this is a small little complex that's costing billions of dollars, most expensive job per square foot ever built. And it's a little complex. It's a little Fed complex. I built the hotel on Pennsylvania Avenue, and I built it for around $200 million. And it's bigger than that. They're spending many times that amount to do a renovation of a building. I've heard numbers as high as $4 billion. $4 billion to build a building. I could have renovated that building and fixed it up, made it beautiful for $25 million. They're going to spend close to $4 billion on it. So it's either gross incompetence or it's theft. Somebody's making money because you can't spend. It's more per square, and you have half a building there. You have the structure, you have the exterior skin that they're not changing much. they're building a building and they're spending almost, I'm hearing numbers of between $3 and $4 billion. It's the most expensive structure ever built per square foot. So he's either incompetent or he or somebody is a crook. And we'll find out.
Mr. President,
Do you think on Minneapolis? So on Minneapolis, Governor Tim Walz recently likened the conflict on the ground to Fort Sumter, sort of implying that this is the beginning of a civil war. Do you agree with that characterization? Do you feel like there's a civil war brewing in Minneapolis?
Well, does he know what Fort Sumter was, or do you think somebody wrote it out for him? No, this is. I was elected on law and order. I was elected on a strong border. We had a border that allowed 25 million people to come in. Many were murderers. They murdered people. We had 11,888 murderers. We had prisons, including Venezuela, but Venezuela opened its prisons. So did the Congo. The Congo in Africa opened its prisons and dumped people into our country. Many countries did that. I would have done that if I were leading a country. I would have dumped the prisoners into our country. We had open borders. We had all these things. I was elected on law and order. I was elected on the economy. I was elected on a lot of reasons. Because when I took over, we inherited a mess. Prices were too high. Inflation was the highest it was in 48 years. I say ever, but the media always corrects me by saying it's only 48 years. I think 48 years almost sounds worse. But when I was elected to do a job. And one of the big things I was elected to do is law and order. We now have the lowest crime rate in the history of our country. We have the lowest murder rate in the history of our country. We have Washington, D.C., which was a dangerous place to walk, is now a totally safe city. You can walk with your husband or your wife. You can walk with your children right down the middle of the city. Nothing's going to happen. We did a great job. We had the National Guard. We have soldiers. We have people that nobody's going to mess with. And we've taken out. Remember, it's not just that. In Washington, we've removed over 2,000 criminals. And, if you look at the numbers, a very small percentage of your population, 2%, 3% of your population causes 90% of the crime. So when you move it's amazing how that works. But the criminals go over and over and over again. So 2 to 3% of your population can cause over 90% of your crime. So it's not that complex. We moved 2,000 people out of Washington. We brought them back to their countries where they came from. They came through open borders by Sleepy Joe Biden. And I will tell you, Washington is safe. If you look at New Orleans, as you know, we went there about 4 weeks ago. I was with the mayor of New Orleans last night. He was at the premiere. And she was at the premiere. She was great. I believe she's a Democrat. She came over. She thanked me so much. She said crime is down more than 50% in just a few weeks. And you couldn't even walk down the street in New Orleans. It's so bad. And now they let us in there, and she is thanking me so much, so profusely. She was great last night. I'd do that if I were a Democrat. I'd say call Trump and let them do what they do. But we remove people, criminals, from the cities, and they become safe cities. If you look at Minnesota, Minneapolis, we have crime down there because we took out thousands of people, despite all the mess and everything else. But do these people really want to have rapists? Do they really want to have drug dealers and people from prisons and murderers? Do they really want to have them in the community? It's really insurrectionists and agitators, and they're paid. And you can tell a lot of reasons. Number one, they're professionals, with their mouth. But they're also, you look at the signs. The signs are all professionally made. They have signs that are gorgeous. In fact, I want to get the sign because I need a lot of signs for different things, and I want to find out whoever does this signs, they do a beautiful job. Everybody has this beautiful sign with brand new wood. It's like leather panels. They have a leather handle on the bottom. These are not people these are people that are handed signs, and we know pretty much, we're getting very close to it, but we know pretty much who's funding this stuff. These are paid insurrectionists, paid troublemakers. But I was elected by a landslide. I won every swing state. I won the popular vote by a lot. I won everything. And I was elected by a landslide on law and order and on strong borders. We had a border that was so bad, so open, where 25 million people came in over a period of 4 years, and now nobody comes in. Nobody even tries to come in. And I can only say, I think we'll say it very plainly, elections have consequences. The people want law law and order. And we have a silent majority. You know, we have a silent majority of people. They don't go and riot and everything else, but they like what we're doing. They like having a safe city. I get calls every single day. Every person I see working in the White House, people I don't know, many people work here, and they say, I'd like to thank you, sir. Why? You've made Washington so great. We walk to work. They walk to work. You people know it very well. You walk to work now. You used to take an Uber or a taxi or something, and you even felt like in danger there. Every person in this building, I mean, virtually every time I see somebody, they thank me. Because a year and a half ago, they lived in hell, and now they can walk to work, and they're totally safe. Nothing's going to happen. And if anything did happen, the person that did it would be living in hell for a long period of time. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much.
That was President Trump speaking at the White House, our Benny Ray Harmony station outside the White House. She joins us live now with the very latest. It is a busy day at the White House. You, of course, just saw the president sign an executive order. The president also in support of a Senate vote that's going to be coming up in just a couple of hours, we're expecting. It's about a measure that's meant to keep the government funded and avert a government shutdown. Money for the Department of Homeland Security and, by extension, ICE is a major sticking point here. Let's see if we can bring in Benny Ray right now for the very latest on that. Benny Ray, can you hear me? Benny, can you hear me?
No, she can't hear me.
All right, she apparently can't hear me right now. But again, we do know that the U.S. Senate is expected to vote on that measure as soon as today. What we're hearing is that 5 funding bills will be passed in order to keep the government open. And what will happen with the funding bill specific for the Department of Homeland Security, which of course includes ICE, there will be a 2-week continuing resolution. So basically, it will buy time for U.S. Senate to basically talk about that particular funding bill and do more negotiations over the next 2 weeks. We'll continue to cover that very story throughout the day. Meantime, President Trump endorsing that spending bill, as I said, it was brokered by Senate Democrats and Republicans, and it will keep most of the government open. Under the deal, the Senate is going to vote on the 5 appropriation bills before tonight's deadline, as I just mentioned. They'll also continue to negotiate on the 6th one, which includes funding for the Department of Homeland Security and, by extension, ICE. In order to buy time to negotiate, the Senate is now expected to pass that 2-week continuing resolution. There's also a chance that parts of the government could still shut down, though, over the weekend, even if the Senate does pass those measures. House Speaker Mike Johnson says that members of the House aren't scheduled to be back in Washington until Monday, and it might be difficult getting enough lawmakers back over the weekend should the House need to approve any changes in the Senate spending plans. Make sure that you stay tuned for that. And while Senate Democrats push to pull funding from DHS, the agency is also continuing to apprehend and arrest the worst of the worst. We're talking about violent criminal illegal aliens like sexual predators and pedophiles. While on the ground in Minneapolis on Thursday, Attorney General Pam Bondi announced that there were 16 arrests. The charges included assaulting, resisting, or impeding federal agents as well. Bondi says, and I'm quoting here, "Nothing will stop DOJ from enforcing the law." Well, that's going to do it for your headlines. We appreciate you being here with us.
Stops here. The Charlie Kirk Show.
All right, welcome back to the Charlie Kirk Show. We are joined by Allie Beth Stuckey, host of the Relatable podcast, Blaze TV. Check it out there. Also, she is the author of a book called Toxic Empathy: How Progressives Exploit Christian Compassion. And that has been targeted by none other than Hillary Rodham Clinton.
Remember her?
Which is
to
just
our
so
younger
cool.
Viewers.
I am so jealous of Allie Beth Stuckey for getting targeted by Hillary Rodham Clinton. So without further ado, Allie, welcome back to the show.
Yeah,
and
thank you so much.
Can you introduce
Hillary Rodham Clinton to our younger viewers? They may not be familiar with her at this point.
Okay, Hillary Rodham Clinton, back in the day. You know Trump. Everyone knows Trump, right? Well,
yeah,
he was
we got
just
that,
going
that
against
much.
Kamala Harris, but long time ago, when a lot of you were maybe just being born, he went up against someone named Hillary Clinton. She's not a newbie. She's got a long and storied history in American politics, and I was not expecting this new burst of publicity for me and my book that came out over a year ago from none other than Secretary Clinton. But here we are.
Well, congratulations. She has a lot to say about you. She called you I think the commissar of MAGA morality, which is
that goes so hard.
Yeah, it goes so hard. Very good. I mean, I love how she sort of, filtered in her own little communist language there, her vocabulary. She says, the author of Toxic Empathy, who styles herself a voice for Christian women, has more than 1 million followers on social media.
That's a lot.
And it goes on, this commissar of MAGA morality targets other evangelicals whose empathy, she warns, has left them open to manipulation. Maybe they recognize the humanity of an undocumented immigrant family and decide that mass deportation has gone too far, or they make space in their heart for a young rape survivor forced to carry a pregnancy to term and start questioning the wisdom and morality of total abortion bans. It's all toxic to Stuckey. Your response?
Yeah, I just appreciate that she gave me 2 blatant examples of toxic empathy. We should see the humanity in an illegal immigrant because they're made in the image of God. That should not lead us to want to prohibit deportations or the enforcement of our common sense immigration law. We should have compassion for the rape survivor who is now pregnant. That should not lead us to support the death penalty for the baby. So this is exactly my point, that we should be having compassion for all different kinds of people, but that compassion should not lead us to affirm sin or support really destructive policy, both for our families and for our country. So thank you so much, Hillary, for being an example of that.
Well, so this reminded me of a rant that, and please get me the clip, guys, the Greg Gutfeld rant. I can't find it right now, but it is so spot on. And actually, I said something similar yesterday, reacting to the Bruce Springsteen clip. He's got this new song out in the streets of Minneapolis, and he's talking about we won't forget their names as they roam and kill the ICE agents, and we won't forget Renee Good and Alex Preddy. And it instantly occurred to me, Allie, that we have no songs for Laken Riley. We have no songs for Rachel Morin. We have no songs for Jocelyn Nungary. We have no songs for Molly Tibbetts. We do not have any of that, and yet the selective outrage is such that we have a song now for what's happening in Minneapolis. What do you think it is about Minneapolis that is so enraging for the progressive left?
Look, I think it's exactly what we're talking about. They now have victims that they can venerate as saints and as martyrs. We saw that, of course, y'all talked about it with Anna Navarro saying that Alex Preddy was the kind of guy that you would want to bring home for your daughters. Just absolutely absurd stuff. You can debate what actually happened when he lost his life without elevating him to this level that they elevated George Floyd, which is basically that he was a perfect person sent by God to show us what injustice really looks like. And they're not going to waste a tragedy. They're not going to waste a loss of life. They are going to use it to advance their cause, which is chaos, open borders, destruction. This audience knows everything about that, but they are going to leverage your natural compassion, your instinctive empathy to manipulate you into believing that supporting their policies is the only way to be a good person and advance the cause of justice. And I just want everyone, this is the whole purpose of what I do, the purpose of my book, to step back and say, I can see the humanity in Alex Preddy and Renee Good without supporting a policy that would lead to defunding the police or defunding ICE, that would lead to more Laken Rileys and more Molly Tibbettses and more Kate Steinleys, because I love my neighbor. And by the way, Laken Riley was my neighbor too. And because I care about her and I care about innocent life, I'm going to continue to support immigration enforcement.
Yeah, I mean, it's so clear. And you see 20% drop in murders, a historic drop in murders. You see law and order getting returned to the streets of Memphis, Washington, D.C., and elsewhere. You see the fruits of fentanyl deaths are plummeting because we're actually taking that seriously. Women are not getting trafficked over the southern border. We're not missing another 500,000 underage minors that happened to be from south of the border. Where was the empathy for these things? And this is why I am just so I love this clip. Greg Gutfeld went off yesterday. 524.
Nothing you said matters. Every single
Welcome
thing,
back, Greg.
No, everything you said does not matter. Because it doesn't. Because everything you mentioned are the consequences of the. Oh, you go ahead and stop. How did we get here? Pull back. How did we get here? An open border that let millions in, and you guys didn't give 2 F's about. Okay.
Snuck right through that border.
All right. We had dozens of deaths where you didn't say. Jocelyn Nungary, Laken Riley, Rachel Morin, Molly Tibbetts. Here's 3 pages of women who have been murdered by illegal aliens in the last 7 or 8 years. The 7 or 8 years that we've been here talking about this and mocked over it.
He goes on, and I put it on my X page, so please check that out. It was vintage Greg Gutfeld. You have been calling out where a lot of this rage is coming from, though, and it's on Instagram. Now, you are a conservative Christian. You probably follow a lot of conservative Christians, and yet you have been observing a trend on Instagram. What is it, and why are you sounding the alarm?
It's 2020 all over again. I remember when I woke up on June 2nd or 3rd in 2020, and I thought my Instagram was glitching because I saw these black squares take over my feed, even from people who call themselves Christian conservatives. And maybe they had a Bible verse underneath, but some of them said, Black Lives Matter. And the underlying common assumption in all of that was that George Floyd died because of systemic racism, because Derek Chauvin was racist. And the only question that I asked in my head and then later publicly was, how do I know that's true? How do I know that's true? And frankly, I had read too much Thomas Sowell and Walter Williams at that point to be duped by all of it. So I just started pointing out that your compassion is lopsided. You don't have any compassion for all of these innocent people who are being killed by the rioters. That's the definition of injustice, punishing someone for something that they did not do, which is exactly what happened with the chaos of 2020. And the same thing, of course, is happening today. Everyone feels the pressure to signal their virtue. And what bothers me is that people who never pipe up about politics, who never say anything about what's going on when Biden or Obama is president, all of the so-called kids in cages, the minors separated from parents and lost under the Biden administration, now feel the urgency to say, oh, I've got to pipe up about politics. I'm like, look, there's a long list of injustices that occur when Trump is not president that I and others would have loved your voice on. I never hear you talk about abortion. I never hear you talk about the kids whose bodies are being chopped up because they've been told that they are the wrong gender. I don't hear you talk about any of those injustices. So at least be fair. At least be fair. But you should ask yourself, why is your public outrage completely dictated by what the liberal media says is wrong? And if you can't be fair, just be quiet.
Blake.
There's something about this, it's that ability to just it's like hitting a light switch, the ability to get whipped up entirely selectively based on who's in office, what's on the news, and it cries out for a better psychological explanation. And I'm not entirely sure what it is. Because, what's going on in this person's head where you didn't care about these things until 10 minutes ago? Suddenly it's all important. And then you could, even move on and change your views, and it's, total amnesia that it ever happened, which we've all seen. We've seen the people who were entirely whipped up, for example, in Floydapalooza, and then today, it's like it never happened. What? Oh, why do you care about that? And it happens with so many things.
Imagery is compelling. And when you put up a picture of a child in his little blue toboggan, looking sad, standing alone with, federal agents, that evokes something in you. And by the way, it should. That's something good in your heart if you saw that picture and you're like, oh my gosh, that poor child. But when that is decontextualized and a completely fabricated narrative is attached to it, and that is what first circulates, it is really hard for me, for you, for anyone else to compete against an image, to compete against a picture with logic, with questions. Telling people to not allow their emotion to arrest their critical thinking is really hard because we are all, especially women, emotional creatures. And as we've talked about, as Charlie talked about so often, the progressives don't have the same moral limits that we do. Whereas we don't want to lie. We don't want to misrepresent, even if it advances our cause. Progressives have an ends justify the means mentality that means if this lie gets ICE agents off the street, then it'll all be worth it. It's just hard to compete with. Not impossible, but difficult.
Well, you think about it, Allie, because you think, remember the Nicholas Sandmann instance? Yeah. Where it looked like this young MAGA, they said a mob
surrounded an Indian elder and harassed him for no reason.
And it took years and a massive lawsuit to clear his name. And I bet, despite that, there is still millions of left-wingers and progressives that only get their news from one or two sources that still believe that he was attacking an Indian elder. And you think about that with Kyle Rittenhouse.
There are still people who think hands up, don't shoot was true. That was fake.
And by the way, there's still people that think that, a lot of people, by the way, that think it was somebody from MAGA that killed Charlie, because these lies are allowed to be perpetuated and they're not corrected. But it's the first lie, the first image that ends up making the biggest impact. And a lie gets halfway around the world before the truth has a chance to put on its pants. And that is really, I think, a tactic that is being weaponized and used because they know that it's effective. And to your point, they don't have the same restraints. I remember during some of the conspiracy theories that we were confronting, which, by the way, you've been amazing on with Allie, I got a question from a very prominent person online. And we were talking about, well, what do you do to confront them? And the question was posed to me, how evil are you willing to be? And I said, I'm not. And they said, well, that really limits your options here. I was like, okay. And we're not up against a political movement or an ideology that has those constraints. I think it's a really important insight you just pointed out. More with Allie Beth Stuckey on the other side of this break. We'll be right back.
Minnesota's headlines are getting wild. Tim Walz and Ilhan Omar are being accused of massive fraud, and it's so bad, all you can do is laugh at this point. So from Real America's Music, the label that brought you the #1 hit, Anthem of the Free, comes a brand new song from singer-songwriter Natasha Owens, The Somali Waltz. Let's make the music industry mad and run this to #1. Scan the QR code or search The Somali Waltz on iTunes and buy it right now. The Somali Waltz, available everywhere. Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access, plus commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play.
Welcome back. I want to tell you guys about our friends over at YRefi, YRefi.com. Private student loan debt in the United States, as I've told you, is at around $300 billion. Even Blake knows the stats now. $45 billion of that is labeled as distressed. YRefi refinances distressed or defaulted private student loans that others refuse to touch. They provide you with a custom loan payment, and that is the key, a custom loan payment that will help you pay your monthly bill so you're not going to get behind anymore. And I just met with these guys. They not only are good people, but their whole mission is about helping you. And I saw that firsthand, that they wake up They go to their office, they take phone calls, and they have pictures of people like you that have gotten out from under their debt. And some of them have called them depressed, suicidal. The stories would blow you away, and I heard them firsthand. So I don't know where you're at on this, in the spectrum of your mental health when it comes to your debt, and especially if it's private student loan debt, but you do not have to live this way. So please call the folks at yrefi.com. It's a good company, good morals, good vision, good mission, and they care about you. They care about Turning Point. They care about this country, and they want to help you out. They want to help you get out from under your debt. So again, call them 888-YREFI34 or log on to yrefy.com. Yrefi.com may not be available in all 50 states, but if you are in one of those states where it's available, they can really, really help you out. We are here with Allie Beth Stuckey from The Blaze, host of Relatable, and author of the probably newly rejuvenated sales of Toxic Empathy. So please check that out. I bet your publisher is very happy, Allie. Thank you, Hillary Rodham Clinton. There's a piece here in The Federalist by Kylie Griswold. And she's talking about the same phenomenon. I don't know if you've seen this piece. She's talking about Instagram, and she's specifically for young women. She says the information is low, but the emotion is high. On Instagram, you'll learn that immigration and customs enforcement used an innocent 5-year-old as a bait and then arrested him. And she says false. He was abandoned by his own illegal alien father. You'll learn that that mother and legal observer Renee Good was gunned down in the streets. False. She says the ICE Watch agitator aimed a weapon, a.k.a. her 2-ton SUV, at a federal officer who had previously been run over by an illegal alien and then accelerated, hitting him and reportedly causing internal bleeding. You'll learn that the traumatic city's church disruption was First Amendment protected speech, and on it goes. What do we do? What can be done about this proliferation, almost got it, of highly emotional propaganda?
Abolish all social media.
Abolish social media. Well, I've had an Instagram for about 10 years now, and man, I feel like every 2 years it's another propaganda battle. 2016, of course, it was Trump. 2018, it was Kavanaugh. 2020, it was COVID and George Floyd. 2022, it was Roe v. Wade being overturned when we had that flurry of lies about, because of pro-life legislation, women are dying in emergency rooms. We had to debunk that. 2024, we had the election, and now here we are in 2026, and we've got a similar situation. And so I feel like I've been through the ringer here, but the hopeful thing is that back in 2020, I felt like I was one of the only white female evangelicals who was like, oh, actually, I don't think I want to post a black square. And I was confronted by prominent Christian leaders that this is the wrong move. This is divisive. This is racist. You should be, a part of reconciliation. You should have more empathy. That's what inspired my book. Sometimes it doesn't matter what the facts are. I was told verbatim multiple times. Sometimes it doesn't matter what the truth is. You just have to express your empathy. And that is where I was like, nope, that is leading us in a really, really bad direction, because public messaging affects public opinion, which affects public policy, which affects the public. It affects people. Like, real lives are lost when we defund the police, when we exacerbate the riots and things like that. So the encouraging part, though, is that now in 2026, 6 years later, I do feel, when I look to my right and left, not politically, but when I look around, I see more people like me who have platforms, who are willing to say, I'm not going to join in with that. I'm not going to repost that. At least I'm going to take some time to figure out what's really going on. And then you've got other people who are, courageous, being like, no, that's not the right narrative. And actually, like, there are other circumstances going on here. And I don't think that's true. So I'm encouraged by that. There are more of us now than there were 6 years ago. And so we just got to keep pushing. Obviously, it's working, or Hillary Rodham Clinton would not be taking out 6,000 words in The Atlantic to try to urge women back into her folds of toxic empathy. By the way, I'm going to be giving a full response to Hillary Clinton later today on my channel. But obviously, they're scared. And so we got to keep slugging.
Yeah, the best hope I can have is maybe you think of how television impacted people when it first came along, and it fried a lot of brains. You look at an old propaganda reel in World War II, and if you watch it today, you think this is really stupid. It's really in your face. And it just would not work anymore today because people have gotten used to it. And maybe that's the hope is with social media, we're still in the first generations to encounter this, and it cooks our brains really bad. But people who maybe entirely grow up in it will hopefully get used to the manipulation tactics it uses. And we have to hope that because, as you say, it's not just that they're easily propagandized. It's also a really dark thing is the flattening of what maybe we call it like flattening of your moral register, where it's very common for people on social media to basically view a bad social media take or something they disagree with as equal or worse in moral heinousness to actually killing somebody, to actually committing a real life atrocity. And we've seen that over and over. There are people who have gotten canceled off social media who faced far worse effects on their lives than someone who committed a crime in real life where they'll get a moral cause in their favor. And, we need to make sure this person gets back on their feet. It's really...
That's a great point.
It's very interesting, and it really drives home the importance of having good moral cultivation. I think we live with an ideal that it's like very easy. You can have naive morality. And no, it has to be cultivated. It's why we need good pastors. It's why we need good religious leaders, because a big part of their job is to have that level of moral cultivation to get past that first hurdle of what's your immediate visual emotional response.
I totally agree. And we need moral courage from you in the audience, you listening to Allie's show, listening to this show. We need you to get in the comments when you see people manipulating you, propagandizing you with slop.
You have to be brave.
You have to be brave. And I think we're now at a iteration of this where we need more and more voices to rise up. Allie, final 30 seconds to you.
Yeah, Blake, you just made such good points, both of you. But that flattening of like virtue and morality is why empathy should not be your guide, why moral truth has to be your guide, why virtue has to be your guide. It's not about getting rid of compassion. It's allowing your compassion to be guided by what is true, what is logically, factually true, but also what is biblically true. You can get exhausted by untethered empathy, but God's ways stay the same, and if you follow that, you'll be headed in the right direction.
The truth is unchanging. Stay anchored to it. Allie Beth Stuckey, thank you so much.
AMA next.
Minnesota's headlines are getting wild. Tim Walz and Ilhan Omar are being accused of massive fraud, and it's so bad, all you can do is laugh at this point. So from Real America's Music, the label that brought you the #1 hit, Anthem of the Free, comes a brand new song from singer-songwriter Natasha Owens, The Somali Waltz. Let's make the music industry mad and run this to #1. Scan the QR code or search The Somali Waltz on iTunes and buy it right now. The Somali Waltz, available everywhere. Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access, plus commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play.
It's your friend John Rich. I co-founded Old Glory Bank because we heard too many stories about people getting canceled by their bank because they didn't agree with their politics. The government wanted to know where you shopped. If you bought a Bible or you shopped at a sporting goods store, you're probably on a list. We created Old Glory Bank because America needed a bank that would protect their privacy and security. Exercising your constitutional rights is not a criminal activity, and neither is loving your country. At Old Glory Bank, we stand with you.
I'm a J6er. I spent 1,143 days in prison.
About a year in prison.
We were prosecuted, persecuted.
J6ers have been treated like terrorists.
And we need your help.
Stand in the Gap was founded to stand in the gap for J6ers working to rebuild their lives after being incarcerated.
For just $10 or more, you can help these patriots get back on their feet again. Every dollar you give is being matched up to $50,000. Go now to j6support.com and donate today.
Thanks so much for being here with us. Look, it's that time of year when so many of us are starting to pay off the debt that we racked up during the holiday season. And oh yeah, it's also tax season, which means some of you are going to wait to file your taxes hoping that you don't owe the IRS something. While you may be done with debt, unfortunately, there's a good chance the debt isn't done with you. But that's where my next guest comes in. She can help you deal with some of that debt. Jillian Barbary is here to talk about Done With Debt and how they might be able to help you in that respect. Jillian, good to see you.
Always great to see you, Terrence. Thank you so much for having me. I love talking about Done With Debt because the amount of people that it has helped, myself included, as you mentioned, it has been one of those things that's a life changer. So is being in debt. And being in debt, as you know, is a financial struggle. It's an anxious struggle. It's a mental struggle. And regardless of how you got there, and that's the thing, a lot of people feel so internalized and guilty about how they got there. Well, listen, you're not alone. So many Americans are on the same struggle, the same path as you. And regardless of how you're there. Okay. And you can get out of it if you take the steps to do so. So people say to me, what's the number one thing? Right now, before you pay another bill, go to donewithdebt.com and at least look at some of the people that have gone through the system and their testimonials and get an idea of what they can offer. The second thing is, they will, if you get a hold of them, it's a free consultation right away, and they can put you on that track because they have master negotiators. These people have been doing it for years. They know who to talk to on your behalf. They set up sort of a team, a barricade, if you will. And that helps with the phone calls overnight, and it helps with the letters, stopping all of that. That in turn eases your anxiety right away. At least it did for mine, that's for sure. Once that happens, you can start that plan and putting it into motion. And once that's in motion, you're slowly chipping away and seeing the benefits, and more importantly, feeling them. Mm-hmm. Getting you back on that road, because the road to financial security feels so different from that unstable, wobbly track, like over the bridge. And that's where I was there for so long. The Done With Debt people they know all of the institutions, whether it's banking or the credit card institutions, so they know what's being offered. And there are deals being offered at times, okay? And they will go for pennies on the dollar. They can certainly work out a deal that's beneficial for you and your situation. Right. That happened for me. And so why I want to be able to work with this company, they're rock stars. They're just amazing people. They're smart, they're fast, they're good, they're on it. They surround you like a blanket, but more importantly, they help you. And that's what it's all about, right? Like being able to sleep at night, knowing that things are getting taken care of, because people get into debt for so many reasons. My mind was just like an avalanche of breast cancer and job loss and a business manager, I thought I was taken care of for life, to be quite frank. But I'm not alone, regardless that I was on TV shows. I worked with people in TV and NFL stars, the people that you watch every Sunday. I worked with a lot of those guys that thought that they were set for life and had bad investments, bad money managers, maybe things people were doing behind their back. They weren't on it, you know? It's hard. Now
Jillian,
I'm on it.
Jillian, 30 seconds. Just like it's a process to get into debt, it's also a process to get out of debt. And that's where this company helps. It's a process.
Yes, that's so well put. Thank you for saying that. And that process starts with you at home. So if you're sitting there and you are financially struggling, and it could be from, $5,000, $10,000 to a lot more than that, which was me. Oh my goodness. This is your chance to sort of say, okay, this could be my new beginning and I need to do something about this. And I need to start today.
And to start that process, people can go to donewithdebt.com. Is that right?
You bet. Donewithdebt.com. Free consultation, Terrence.
All right. Good stuff. Always good to talk to you, Jillian. Donewithdebt.com. Log on right now. And again, it's a free consultation. Won't cost you anything.
Minnesota's headlines are getting wild. Tim Walz and Ilhan Omar are being accused of massive fraud, and it's so bad, all you can do is laugh at this point. So from Real America's Music, the label that brought you the #1 hit, Anthem of the Free, comes a brand new song from singer-songwriter Natasha Owens, The Somali Waltz. Let's make the music industry mad and run this to #1. Scan the QR code or search The Somali Waltz on iTunes and buy it right now. The Somali Waltz, available everywhere. Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office.
All right, welcome back to the Charlie Kirk Show. Hour 2 is underway. This is Friday, so it's our Ask Me Anything hour here at the Bitcoin.com studios, your one-stop shop to buy, sell, trade, research Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, Bitcoin.com. We have Anthony first. Anthony, welcome to the show. Unmute yourself.
Is this sports, Anthony?
Yes, it is.
Yes. All righty, awesome.
So, well, hopefully you guys are nice and warm as I'm freezing in Western New York. It's 11 degrees, but feels like -7. So my question is this. Where do we go, like, if these riots or / protests keep getting worse, where do we go next? Because we are in a midterm election year. That could have a lot of issues. And as the weather gets warmer in the snowbound states, you're going to probably see more of these protests outside, bigger. And we don't see any Democrat politician outside of Fetterman saying we need to stop, we need to get rid of ICE, that actually want to work with Republicans. Where do we go next? Because, and I know, Andrew, you said this, you're all about the Insurrection Act, and I agree, we should have squashed this problem soon. But I'm also on the fence with using it because of being an election.
Blake, do you want to take this? By the way, we have Mikey.
Yeah, we do have Mikey here. So if you guys have specific questions for him, definitely loop him in. But he'll probably have a take on this one too.
There he is.
And it is a genuinely tough question because let's be really, there is a political calculus that enters that. You want to win the midterms. You want to make it so you have a basically supportive Congress instead of one that's endlessly impeaching and investigating and who knows what. You know what Mark Halpern talked about the other day. But I think we can remember I think there's limits to what they can do with this. And I think if they insist on having mass demonstrations, if they get really large, if it turns into riots where they're destroying things, the American public is going to get exhausted with this, and they will want to see resolve and strength shown in the face of this, which we did see, I think, in 2020. I think that the 2020 election ultimately was better for us than it would have been otherwise because of backlash to the riots. That's actually what turned a lot of those Hispanic areas that shifted hard to the right unexpectedly. I think that was people reacting to seeing their neighborhoods torched. And I think if people are seeing my city is in total paralysis because of these lunatics who are harassing people, who are attacking officers, that will be able to work in our favor as long as we are good on our messaging, which is we're going after criminals. These people are trying to protect murderers, human traffickers, child predators, bad dudes. If you can make that case very clear. And also, let's be real, there's an element of chance to this because it is not good when you're having Alex Pretties, even if they're getting in it with cops. It's not good if they're getting shot in ways that seem not 100% justified. But on the other hand, these riders are also, they're lunatics and they can do stuff. So if we get violent attacks on ICE agents, which they're stoking every day, all of these lawmakers with their insane Holocaust comparisons, with their Gestapo stuff, with their, just outrightly, saying we need to take up arms practically, they are inviting insane violent actions against people who are law enforcement agents. And I think if they keep recklessly egging that on, it will probably backfire on them.
Right, because you saw yesterday, Hakeem Jeffrey says we need to put Chrissy Noem on ice. When you use that term, that's almost inciting violence.
Yeah, well, I think
on ice usually means storage.
But
right?
I know what he's saying. There is a lot of playful rhetoric. You would say playful. I would say creative, colorful rhetoric from the left that is verging on incitement. Incitement, Blake has said many times on the show, has a very distinct and narrow definition in the United States. I think it's actually more of a good thing than a bad thing, but it does give people like Hakeem Jeffries a lot of license to say really stupid things, right? Mm-hmm. And I'll make a point here. I agree with Blake. So both sides are in a battle for the hearts and minds. What was frustrating about the Alex Pretty situation is that it was very clear immediately that this was a energizing moment for the left. I played a clip in hour one of Greg Gutfeld, and he continues on in that diatribe, which I thought was brilliant, in saying that they want another martyr. They want somebody else that they can canonize a saint to fall in the streets of Minneapolis. This is why they're getting songs from people like Bruce Springsteen, who's a washed-up has-been, but still, it's indicative of a larger battle for the hearts and minds. But as conservatives, we tend to think about that we're always on the losing side of this. But that if you're a Democrat, they think that they're on the losing side of this. This is why you have Hillary Rodham Clinton writing, opinion pieces in the Atlantic, wanting to reclaim what she thinks is empathy or compassion. So I would just say that they know that they have a line to draw, to Blake's point. They cannot devolve into pure chaos like we saw in 2020, like we've seen in many other instances. Ultimately, chaos does not win. Law and order and peace, that's what people want, right? And you think back to Nixon in 1968. There was a Vietnam War protest outside of the DNC that year. That helped Nixon win in 1968. He was the law and order president, right? And so maybe the dynamics, the calculus is a little bit different, but we've seen this play out. Ultimately, you have to understand the left is a force of disorder, of chaos. And people do not like that at some fundamental level. And they can overplay their hand. And so that's why I was calling with Allie Beth Stuckey for people like you to get involved in the comments. Go on social media. Go on Instagram. Go on TikTok. Go on X. And brigade the comments. Get in there. Mix it up, because ultimately the propaganda will fail if the truth is louder than the lie. But that's a huge if. Mikey, let's get you in here.
Yeah. No, I totally agree, guys. I think the left ultimately shoots themselves in the foot time and again with what you saw after George Floyd burning down cities. You had average citizens walking on their porch like the McCloskeys with their guns to try to defend their homes because they didn't know what was going to happen. And they were a representation of the average rural voter that was like, okay, wait a minute, this has gotten out of hand. This could come to my neighborhood. They could burn down my house. I need to vote accordingly. And so we'll have to wait and see. I think that Republicans need to be very careful going into the midterms because a lot of this crazy leftist mentality has started to bleed into who they run for office. I mean, we thought it was going to be crazy if Jay Jones got elected in Virginia, but he ended up getting elected. This is a guy who was threatening to kill little kids. And now you have the DA of Philly saying that, you know, we have to hunt down ICE agents in the streets and calling them Nazis. And you have people running for office in Ohio that are saying if they win, they're going to seek the death penalty for President Trump. And so this is what we can expect to see if Democrats win or steal the midterms. And it's ultimately bleeding past just a cultural movement on the left. These are people that they're running for elected office. The people who are burning down the Wendy's are the ones that they will inevitably run to be your district attorney, to be your whatever it is.
No, I think what the point you're making, Mike, is that they can't help themselves. They always overshoot the mark. They always overplay their hand because it is fundamentally a movement without guardrails. It is a movement without a clearly defined morality. And you can hear this. President Trump just this morning echoed some of this, 536.
I think we'll say it very plainly. Elections have consequences. The people want law and order. And we have a silent majority. You know, we have a silent majority of people. They don't go and riot and everything else, but they like what we're doing. They like having a safe city. I get calls every single day. Every person I see working in the White House, people I don't know, many people work here, and they say, I'd like to thank you, sir. Why? You made Washington so great. We walk to work. They walk to work. You people know it very well. You walk to work now. You used to take an Uber.
So ultimately, the truth has to be louder than the lie, and the message of law and order versus chaos. Ultimately, you know, it's easier to fight something that's in power. It really is. It was easier for us when we were fighting Joe Biden because we were able to sort of cast him as the villain in a story, and that's easier for the normie mind to comprehend. It's harder to maintain power. It's harder to make your case when you are actually in elected office, and right now President Trump, and we hold all three branches. So really quick here, if you guys want to get involved, members.charliekirk.com, members.charliekirk.com. We have more questions waiting in the wings. We will get to them next. We'll be right back.
Minnesota's headlines are getting wild. Tim Walz and Ilhan Omar are being accused of massive fraud, and it's so bad, all you can do is laugh at this point. So from Real America's Music, the label that brought you the #1 hit, Anthem of the Free, comes a brand new song from singer-songwriter Natasha Owens, The Somali Waltz. Let's make the music industry mad and run this to #1. Scan the QR code or search The Somali Waltz on iTunes and buy it right now. The Somali Waltz, available everywhere. Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access, plus commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play.
I'm Terry from New Jersey, and I just want to say that I love Real America's Voice. I love you guys. Keep up the good work.
When the bacon wants real facts and figures, he goes to RAV. Real America's Voice, baby. That's where you get the real scoop and not the poop.
It's Mama Love in northern Minnesota. You know, a collective voice is much louder than a single voice. Thanks, RAV, for giving us a place to chat and connect. See y'all in chat.
All right, welcome back. Some sad news. I don't know why this is so sad to me. I'm trying
it's a
to
good movie.
ascertain why I'm having an emotional attachment. Catherine O'Hara, legendary actress famous from Home Alone. It's probably because I watch it every Christmas.
Yeah, I just watched both of them this past Christmas.
Exactly.
This is the mom from Home Alone. Kevin!
Yeah, she is dead at 71. She's also famous for Best in Show. I don't think I'd get in Schitt's Creek. I don't know. I don't get in trouble for that, right?
I only know Home Alone,
It's
but I
spelled
could say
SCHITTS.
Yeah, it's a good. Once again, I think I said it was my favorite Christmas film during our Christmas episodes, and it's a good film. It has a underrated Christmas message. I think once you're an adult, the whole theme with the old man who is estranged from his family, and Kevin tells him, like, you need to reach out to your son, call him. The worst you can do is say no. Like that's a lot more moving as an adult than as a kid, where you kind of not really alert to these things necessarily. But so give it a watch either now or next Christmas.
And here is something our team has pulled from one of her more famous, I guess, performances here. 5:39. I haven't seen it. 5:39.
Oh, Danny boy, the pipes are calling from Danny. Boy.
Is that Schitt's Creek?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Mikey, I put it in the chat, and you were like, "No."
She was an amazing actress. That's one of my favorite shows of all time, Schitt's Creek. I mean, but it's a sad reality. I mean, you guys talked about Home Alone. I just even remember growing up was like, that's something my mom would do. Like drop everything, do whatever is necessary to get home if she forgot her son, right? And it's just she did such a great job in encompassing what a good mom is in America, but also she's a hilarious actress too. And so it's actually very sad I didn't even know that. So
rest in peace. Give Home Alone a watch. Do we have Brandon as our next questioner? Brandon, unmute yourself. Are you there?
Hey guys.
Howdy.
So I just finished Battle for the American Mind by Pete Hegseth and David Goodwin earlier this month. And he talks about classical Christian education. And I could be wrong, but I never heard Charlie talk about it. And he always pushed homeschooling, which I agree with. But I was just wondering why I never heard him talk about classical Christian education.
Mikey?
Yeah, Mike, just as setup.
Ultimately, I don't think there's a reason why you didn't hear him talk about it a lot. I've heard him before a few times mention it. I don't think it's because he was against it, which is why you didn't hear him talk about it a ton. But he was really in favor of homeschooling. He was in favor of bringing the Bible back into schools. He even launched Turning Point Academy, which is one of the programs at Turning Point USA, which we have a ton of different charter schools, which Charlie was also super big on. But I don't think it was because he was anti classical Christian education. So.
I'm trying to find if we maybe specifically mentioned it.
He was
remember
in favor of it.
He was definitely in favor of it. I remember.
I mean, Hutz, who runs Turning Point Academy, would probably say, "No, Charlie talked about it all the time."
It might just
and
be
that's
a failure of lingo if we didn't mention it. Like Mikey, you'd remember when we went to Idaho once. We stopped at a classical Christian academy, I believe. I can't remember the name of it. Yeah. But
that's right, Blake. I totally forgot about
we
that.
checked out that school. We're scoping it out. I know he was very fascinated by what they were doing. I don't remember if we ever had anyone from that school on, but I suspect we had someone who was involved in that on the show.
No, we did,
point.
and I think we had Pete on the show to talk about that book, and I think we had his co-author to talk about that book as well. So I'm pretty sure Charlie did talk about it, and he was broadly supportive of it. And I pulled out a graphic from Turning Point Education. There is a God, and he is not man or man-made. God is the creator of the universe and reigns supreme. The teaching of God's truth and virtue is the beginning of wisdom and is the best defense against destructive ideologies. There are two sexes. Marriage is between one man and one woman. A life is sacred. All people are created equal in the image of God. The epicenter of child's formation is the family. The church, schools, and community exist to serve God and the family. I mean, that's all sounds like, fairly right on the mark here. So I would say maybe it wasn't we didn't major on it from a messaging standpoint on the show, but he talked about it.
I'm looking here. So we had we actually had Turning Point Academy get profiled on a different podcast, and it did say, the 5C schools are classical, Christian, conservative, collaborative, and
That's
cost
what I'm
affordable.
saying.
Yeah,
Hutz, I wish Hutz was here. He'd be mad at us for not having our talking points down a little bit better. Because I was like the whole time I'm going, wait, isn't that exactly what we do?
Yeah,
Anyways.
it's certainly exactly what Charlie supported. Whether he always used the correct lingo,
I reject the premise of the question. No, but it's
I definitely could have missed it. I haven't been listening to Charlie only for like a couple years. But I heard it in the book, looked it up a little bit, and I just love it. I mean, it's everything education should be, and it's K through 12. I just think it's perfect. It is a little bit expensive, but I think homeschooling is too as well. Someone has to stay home, but I figured he supported it. I didn't hear it. Could have missed it. Seems like I did, but I just wanted to ask.
Well, it's all good. God bless you. And I'm nervous for when Hutz sees this clip and chastises us rightfully for. But yeah, Charlie was very supportive. Thank you so much, Brandon. We have an email question you wanted to get to.
Yeah, we do, and we might bleed this into the next segment. But we got an email from someone who couldn't join the call today. It's from Rebecca. And she says, my two oldest kids have started a Club America chapter along with some of their friends. They are homeschooled, so this is not in a high school. It's just an independent chapter. The church we attend is right next to the high school that's nearby. Our kids were hoping to host Club America there as a way of outreach to that school. Our church said no, as they did not want our church associated with anything political. I found this so frustrating, as to me, and from what I had heard Charlie say, our Christian values are what should shape our politics. I was just wondering your thoughts on this. Mikey, I feel like you probably heard the most from Charlie on this topic. Do you have an initial response to that?
Blake, why don't you go first? I'm actually trying to find something super quick on this.
I'll just take this just quickly because we have 30 seconds and we're hitting a break. Charlie would say, go confront the pastors, talk with them privately, and if they refuse to budge or be, convinced of a better thought process here, then you should really consider leaving that church. I mean, Charlie got very, very kind of cut and dry about this ultimately, because if you are going to cede the public square to other ideologies, guess what? Other ideologies that you do not agree with are going to fill the vacuum.
A church can say, we'll go on about this, but a church can say it's apolitical, but the enemy is not apolitical.
Correct. We'll be right back.
We'll continue right back.
When the lights go down, the truth comes out.
This is built like a chicken McNugget, but...
This is After Hours with Alex Stein. No filter.
You're a globalist. You don't care about America.
No apologies.
You're a pro-abortion when you should have been aborted.
The undisputed king of trolling.
I was recently sexually assaulted within the metaverse.
I want to vaccinate your mom.
They tried to cancel us.
Deplatforming works.
She wants to kill babies, but she's still beautiful. Look at that booty on AOC. That's my favorite big booty Latina.
Politics, culture, hypocrisy.
They want them to have their penises cut off.
Uncensored and uncontrolled.
That's what I'm saying. They admit they want to cut people's penises off.
Late night just got dangerous. After Hours with Alex Stein. Coming soon to Real America's Voice. Through every storm, every moment of uncertainty,
everybody needs to pray for Charlie Kirk right now.
Rev has stood strong.
We're not going to tolerate this stuff anymore.
Turn that anger into motivation to save this nation.
When we move together, there is power.
The cries of this widow will echo like a battle cry.
This is more than news. It's a movement.
This revolution of people taking their countries back.
A turning point. A chance to be part of something greater than yourself. Scan the QR code and stand with Rev. The story isn't over, and neither is your part in it. Step in, be counted, be heard. Together, we are Rev.
We will achieve American greatness. And we are just getting started.
Hello, this is Hockey Nut from Weyerhaeuser, Wisconsin. Just saying, tune in to Real America's Voice for the truth.
Hi, my name's Paul Foyer. I'm Foyer04 in the Getter Chat. I love rap for all the Getter, all the War Room Posse, and all of you guys. Love y'all. Bye.
Hi, this is Chris from Wisconsin, and I love Real America's Voice because we have great news and a great chat family. God bless all of you.
Back to this Real America's Voice news break. I'm Terrence Bates. It's a new day in Minneapolis as Border Czar Tom Homan has taken over the ICE and immigration enforcement effort there. Unfortunately, some of the same problems still exist, though. Our Ben Berkham was on the ground there in Minneapolis as protests continue. Ben, good afternoon.
They've already made threats.
Hey, good afternoon, Terrence. Good to be with you.
All right, so I hear it behind you. The protests are going on, and I guess they're moving throughout the city of Minneapolis today?
Yeah, no, it's not stopping. Just this is the new normal in America for the radical left. They don't have political arguments. It's all violence and intimidation. So any negotiating with these guys is like negotiating with terrorists. They want to they don't want the ICE, the bad guy illegal aliens removed from their country. They don't want anybody. They don't believe in any sort of law and order, any sort of border sovereignty. And in this case, they're actually protesting Target allowing ICE to use their facilities to stage. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous, but it's going to continue. This is what the Democrats do every election cycle. 2020, it was BLM. 2024, it was the Palestinian terrorists. And now it's protecting criminal illegal aliens in our country.
What is your sense of how the Trump administration, specifically Tom Homan, is going to maybe change the approach or alter the approach there in Minneapolis now that he's in charge?
Look, Tom Homan is one of the best guys, one of the best leaders, one of the most America First people that I know in this country. He's going to do what is necessary to finish the mission. And so, he may have slight different tactics than previously, but I have no doubt Tom Homan is here to kick some ass and take some names, to steal a phrase, It just may be under different circumstances. What he's talking about is actually what we saw originally. It was going in, targeting the worst of the worst, and then you get the rest too. He said that yesterday. We're going to get the rest too, but our focus is back on targeting the worst of the worst, not getting distracted by these guys who are simply trying to slow them down.
And that's all they are, Ben, as you said, a distraction. They're trying to slow things down, but as you said, Tom Homan is going to be kicking hind parts and taking names and continuing to do the job. That's a quick check of your headlines.
Where talk meets action.
All right, welcome back to the Charlie Kirk Show. We got Mikey McCoy in the house. He's not in studio, not here at this Bitcoin.com studio, but he's at the remote Bitcoin.com studio.
So Bitcoin.com
unknown
studio.
Location.
At the unknown location.
The unknown undisclosed Bitcoin studio.
Yeah. Bitcoin.com Black Mesa.
Blake, continue. You were so the question.
So we were looking at Rebecca's question, and it was about her kids had a Homeschool Club America chapter. They wanted to do outreach to the high school that is next to their church, get some of them involved because it's not at a school. And their church, they said, no, we don't want to be involved in politics. And Andrew, you said just before the break that you suspect. What Charlie would say is if your church is that afraid of anything that has a vaguely political whiff, you possibly should look at another church. And the reason for that is, as Charlie would always say, politics is not some special hyper segregated sphere away from everything else in life. Politics has, especially today where the government is a part of everything, it's injected into everything that has moral weight in life. What are our abortion laws? What are our laws on all sorts of other moral issues? Who holds power? Among other things, will your church be allowed to be open if there's another pandemic or some other thing that they want to use to justify closing it? Everything about your country goes into this, and so many political issues have a moral and, as a result, a Christian dimension to them. We're not just debating how do you best grow the economy. You're debating what is the nature of our country, all of these things matter. And if your church takes this position of total non-engagement, they're kind of taking a position of cowardice. It is taking a position that the Christian view is to not have an opinion on something that matters. And that doesn't necessarily mean you always need every pastor endorsing every single candidate, because sometimes there can be the flip side where if a church is just too identified with politics, it becomes just a political arm instead of a religious arm. But if you're just not involved in it at all, why are you here? You're what is it? A whited sepulcher. You have a pretty building and you represent nothing and you're empty on the inside.
Whitewashed tombs.
And it's first off, Club America is our high school program, okay? And Charlie, I was trying to find earlier a message from him when we were naming it Club America. He goes, we'll name it Club America because it's apolitical. You have to love America. And so it's not even an objectively political thing to have a Club America chapter on a high school campus. You're celebrating America. You're celebrating America's founding. You're learning about American principles. But the fact that a church is too weak to even have a Club America chapter at the high school next door or to support something like that says a lot about the church. And honestly, these are the types of churches that closed their doors during COVID. These are the types of churches that when you were depressed, when you were anxious, when you had loved ones dying in the hospital that you couldn't see or care for or have physical touch with, that these churches shuttered their doors, didn't let you in, didn't reach out to you, weren't there when you needed them most. And these are just weak pastors too, honestly. I think back to when we were in Korea. Charlie was supposed to have a meeting with 15 pastors, and all 15 pastors canceled because they were afraid that the government was going to arrest them. There was only one pastor that met with Charlie. We had his two sons on the show. He's been in prison for the past few months. He just got out last night, but he may be facing another year plus in prison. And this is the consequences that pastors need to face for their bravery in their faith. And they don't want to go to jail. They don't want to risk it. They'd rather just have a beautiful church with nice, nice interiors and a nice office and a comfy paycheck, and they can just show up to work, do their thing, and leave. But when it comes to actually hard responsibilities for your faith, when it comes to taking care of other people, when it comes to being involved in your community and politics and culture, we don't want that. We don't want to touch that. We don't do politics. And this is a weak mentality in the American church. We don't even have citizens that feel safe walking in their own cities. Like, what is happening to our country? Meanwhile, churches are totally fine with what's happening in Dearborn, Michigan, what's happening with the Islamic takeover of our country. And honestly, the modern day church might not be strong enough to counteract the atrocities that are facing our country.
Yeah,
whether that be leftism or, yeah.
I feel like that's a question. I want to be constructive, so we ideally would prefer that rather than they leave their church, that they just get their church to change its behavior. And without getting too, rage-filled, you could ask them, like, okay, does this church have an opinion on whether America should remain Christian or gradually be secularized and Islamicized? Does this church have a view on church shutdowns during pandemics? Does this church have a position on the right to life? Does this church have this? And this is what Club America is related to. And you don't even, and I think her request is just to hold meetings there. It's not that they need to necessarily even advertise it at every single thing they do. They just want to have a meeting at a place adjacent to the school.
Yeah.
And I would really probe at what their reasoning is and be ready to question it. And if the answers are bad, ultimately, the churches we choose to attend should reflect how we feel about the gospel. And if it's not aligned, it's worthy of thought.
Yeah, and I mean, don't be afraid to go to another church. I know that can be tough because your whole community and your friends, it can all be attached to your church community. It's a tough decision to make. Don't make it lightly, but don't be afraid to do it either, because ultimately the churches that are courageous, the churches that are proclaiming the gospel, the churches that are lifting up Jesus, but also the churches that have the courage of their own convictions are going to be the churches that thrive. And if churches are getting weak and weak-kneed, ultimately, I think, oftentimes what you see is that God will just snuff out their lampstands, right? And don't be afraid of that. We have a related question from Kimberly. Kimberly, unmute yourself. Welcome to the Charlie Kirk Show.
Kimberly, unmute yourself if you're there.
There, am I done?
Yep, we got you.
The turning point, like chapter, whatever, what does that do, and how do you do it? Because I homeschool my kids, and so what does it do?
Yeah, so, and Mikey knows a lot about this as well. So if you're homeschooling, oftentimes what we do is we have these activism hubs that could be in your area, and you can join them and be a part of them that way. So I don't know which part of the country you're in, but we could follow up with you if you want to let us know more or send us an email, and we can get that to our field team. But so we try and incorporate as many homeschoolers as we can, is the point. But chapters do a lot of different things, right? First of all, if you imagine yourself you're in public school, then it becomes a rallying point for other like-minded people, right? So oftentimes at high schools, you'll have the gay club, the LGBTQ club or whatever. You'll have all kinds of different interest group clubs, the socialist club. There are not a lot of clubs for people that just have traditional American values, that love their country, that want to celebrate free speech, debate, that want to, support the flag. So a lot of these chapters, they'll do flag days at their school, and they'll put flags everywhere, which is just a great form of patriotism. They can invite speakers. Then they get plugged into our national events. So we have a lot of high schoolers that come to the Student Action Summit or AmFest, and that usually happens through the club level. They're given access to video content. They have activism kits. So we have a whole shipment and fulfillment center on campus where we just send out these kits, and they can go table in their school yard. Oftentimes they'll do community outreach events. So they'll visit an elderly facility and brighten their day or bake them cookies, whatever. So at the high school level, it is nice to kind of keep it just more basic. We're just proud to be Americans. And then obviously they get to participate in a lot of the content that we send out. So that'll be video series, that'll be lecture series, books to read, all those types of things. So it becomes a rallying point, like-minded people, patriotism, and then oftentimes we'll do voter registration drives as well ahead of elections. So that's on the high school level. The college level gets a little bit more robust. I don't know, Mikey, if you want to chime in.
No, you hit the nail on the head. But for you, because you homeschool, there's a hub that you can join. If you go to the website, clubamerica.com, you can figure out ways to get plugged in there.
Did you have something additional, Kimberly?
Well, I know they were here once. I'm in Georgia. And they actually went, we have a homeschool skate every 2 Fridays. So one of the Fridays they said the first 75 people that join will pay for it. So my kids got to go for free because they paid for it. I was just wondering, like, what does it do? Stuff like that. And I'm the one, I did talk to you before. I'm the one who has 11 kids and all that. So, yeah.
Oh, 11,
lovely.
Yes.
Lovely.
I remember that.
Oh, I remember that call. That was great.
Yes.
You tend to remember 11 kids. That's noteworthy. Good for you.
I remember.
Yeah, I figured you would remember me by that.
Be fruitful and multiply.
Yes.
You have taken the commandment seriously. So God bless you and your children and your family. And again, visit clubamerica.com if you want more details. I was actually looking at it. They need to update the how many chapters we have, because it's far more than far more.
And like, how do you join or whatever? Like,
so
if it's already there.
If you go on the website, there's resources. You can contact them. Yeah. Charter a chapter, you can do that, or join one. So they have all those resources right there on the drop down menu. So you can find out what's there, and they'll get in touch with you. They have actual we have field staff all across the country. I think we just hired a bunch more. We had a big new staff training as well, because we need more field team to service all these new chapters that we have. So check it out there.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. God bless you. Mick.
Thank you.
We got 1.5 minutes left here, Mick, so might have to go through the next segment. Mick, can you hear me? Unmute yourself.
Yes, sir. Good to be back. Quick question I had for you. Obviously, today is a big white pill day. They got Don Lemon. But what are some other names that you guys have thought about that you might need to see indicted? One off the top of my head is Mikey Sherrill in New Jersey. I don't know if it's legally actionable or not, but she has talked about or has created a government website dedicated to doxing ICE agents.
Yeah. I would say that's a good one. I just saw that news yesterday. And then there's the DA of Philly, there's the AG of Minnesota, the mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Fry, Keith Ellison. Those are names that I'm looking at. Honestly, though, you basically, what we're talking about is the supremacy clause, where you've got a lot of local elected officials, whether that's state level or city level, county level, that are openly defying federal immigration law, and they are tiptoeing that line with actual sedition, I would say. I mean, they want to nullify the supremacy clause of the Constitution. They think they can act like independent states, that they can act like not like governors of a country, of a constitutional republic, but they want to act like presidents of their state, and they want to follow a law all their own. But we can think on this. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
When the lights go down, the truth comes out.
This is built like a chicken McNugget, but...
This is After Hours with Alex Stein. No filter.
You're a globalist. You don't care about America.
No apologies.
You're a pro-abortion when you should have been aborted.
The undisputed king of trolling.
I was recently sexually assaulted within the metaverse.
I want to vaccinate your mom.
They tried to cancel us.
Deplatforming works.
She wants to kill babies, but she's still beautiful. Look at that booty on AOC. That's my favorite big booty Latina.
Politics, culture, hypocrisy.
They want them to have their penises cut off.
Uncensored and uncontrolled.
Cut your penis off, That's what I'm saying. They admit they want to cut people's penises off.
Late night just got dangerous. After Hours with Alex Stein. Coming soon to Real America's Voice. Through every storm, every moment of uncertainty,
Everybody needs to pray for Charlie Kirk right now.
Rav has stood strong.
We're not going to tolerate this stuff anymore.
Turn that anger into motivation to save this nation.
When we move together, there is power.
The cries of this widow will echo like a battle cry.
This is more than news. It's a movement.
This revolution of people taking their countries back.
A turning point. A chance to be part of something greater than yourself. Scan the QR code and stand with Rav. The story isn't over, and neither is your part in it. Step in, be counted, be heard. Together, we are Rav.
We will achieve American greatness. And we are just getting.
All right, welcome back to the Charlie Kirk Show. I want to tell you about our friends over at YRefi. Private student loan debt is ballooned in the United States over $300 billion, and $45 billion of that is labeled as distressed. So what do? They refinance distressed and defaulted private student loans that others will not touch. They provide you with a custom loan payment based on your ability to pay, and that is the key. So if you find yourself in a situation with a private student loan monthly payment that you cannot make, you want to check them out. If your credit has been destroyed because you just stopped making the payment, you're going to want to check them out. If you are depressed or distressed or even suicidal, this is, I hate to say it, but this is a real thing. A lot of these people are feeling this way. A lot of you guys might be in a similar situation. I don't want to assume. Please call them or log on at yrefi.com. Call them 888-YREFI34 or log on yrefi.com. You can even get mom and dad off of a loan that has gone awry. You can skip a payment every 6 months up to 12 times without penalty. You do not have to ignore that mountain of student loan statements building up on your kitchen table anymore. Call them 888-YREFI34 or log on at yrefi.com. All right. So
we were talking about
I know. Who do we want to indict?
And I thought of mine in the break.
I thought of a bunch.
I would love, this is the one I would love to see a case built against would be Alejandro Mayorkas.
Yes.
The guy in charge of the border. It's just straight up what he did was systematically throwing out the laws of the United States to enable a foreign invasion of this country by people that we knew were dangerous. Not just, let's let in every welfare case, but let's knowingly let in foreign gangsters, possible terrorists, possible foreign agents. Like, we know tens of thousands of Chinese people were coming across the Mexican border, tens of thousands of people from the Middle East, from Africa, from literally everywhere in the planet. We had just an open border with the whole planet, not because we'd changed our laws, but because we chose to not enforce those laws in such a selective way as to allow this. And I think you could constructively build the case that what he did was some form of treason against the United States.
I love that one. That would be my number one as well. But since he took it already, James Comey, Brennan, Clapper, the big hoax, the Russian collusion hoax, stole President Trump's for many years, much momentum in the first term. Big one there. I would say Adam Schiff is big on that. Letitia James, Fannie Willis, John Bolton is actually probably going to have a comeuppance. That guy's probably going to be in jail, in prison. I would say Alvin Bragg, Andrew Weissman. Those are some of my names. So I don't know if, Mike, you want to jump in on this one, but it was a fun thought exercise because there's a lot to go around.
I'm just
the election officials in Fulton County.
List.
Who do we indict?
I think the list, we could be here all day.
Wait, there's Anthony Fauci is another one that I think a lot of people would love to see.
Fauci's always on the top of my list. J.B. Pritzker. Yeah, I really want to see Jacob Fry.
Honestly,
yeah,
there's a lot. Karen Bass.
Yeah, and big picture, to repeat what was before, I think you really need to start bulking up the legal case for everyone involved in this sanctuary city sham. We would not tolerate this for a second with basically anything else. This absolutely systematic effort to make it so a core federal law goes unenforced, where you're publicly warning people that whether federal agents around so they don't get arrested. I mean, all we've had so far is, I guess we had that judge in Wisconsin who tried to hide the illegal. We got her convicted. But you need more than that, because it's just deranged to me that I believe California made it a criminal offense to give certain information to federal immigration authorities. That's outrageous. How can it ever be a crime to tell the federal government someone is illegally in this country? Here is the proof that someone is illegally in this country.
Right.
It should never be a crime to expose a crime.
Well, and I would like to add all of the NGO networks that have, whether they're, shuttling these people into legal services to help them game the system, giving them information on the other side of the border to help them game the system, that they're fleecing taxpayers to do this. I got a lot of problems with a lot of those groups. And now you got NGOs that are working in Minneapolis, and they're trying to help these people avoid accountability, helping protesters, agitators, and frankly, this is low-level sedition, trying to attack law enforcement. So I got a long list of people that really deserve to be in prison. Should we go to the next question here? Joe? Joe, welcome to the Charlie Kirk Show. Please unmute yourself.
Unmute yourself, Joe.
Well, we might have missed Joe, but we got his question
Dang.
here. He says, I may have missed this question, but why is it that George Soros and group seem to escape scrutiny with all the professional protesting up in Minnesota, and he funds this stuff? I know you're probably
my take on Soros, at least George Soros specifically, I think it is worth reminding people he is very old at this point. So I think he's actually
super old.
I think he's actually there's decent evidence that he's essentially out of it at this point. His money is still very much there. Now, as for the networks,
his son is still out.
Yeah, his son. I mean, the Soros fortune will be a big deal for a long time. But it's sort of a funny thing is you'll still see the left go on and on about the Koch brothers. And I believe David Koch has been deceased for 5 or 6 years at this point.
Yeah.
But you still hear it. I remember when I was at The Hill, which the publication, we even got the thing. Koch brothers is not capitalized. They are not the Super Mario brothers. But it shows how certain figures do fixate. And it does get at a bigger point, which is much like the Sanctuary City operation, there is this extremely large network of NGOs and left-wing money that some of it is just indisputably legal. Like, okay, you can have an NGO that advocates for more open borders, and you can give jobs to people to do insane stuff. Unfortunately, that's all legal. But if they're doing things like they're very clearly, like if their whole operation, for example, is to get people who attack police officers out of prison ASAP and back out to protesting, if you're clearly setting up this whole apparatus for let's do basically law-breaking demonstrations, riots, if you're knowingly funding an operation to sabotage immigration enforcement in the United States or to enable BLM riots, all those things, I think you have to make the case that there is some form of criminality going on there. And we discussed this on this show, where one thing that people would always bring up RICO as something that should be brought here. An interesting thing at federal law is right now, RICO, what you need to do is you need to be doing kind of a conspiracy, a corrupt action to enable another crime. And right now, fomenting riots is not a thing under RICO. And Ted Cruz, Senator Ted Cruz, to his credit, has pointed out this problem. Republicans in Congress should make that an agenda item of theirs to include fomenting riots as a RICO predicate. And then it would be easier to go after some of these networks.
Yeah, well, and I know the Treasury Department is doing a great job right now trying to root out some of the funding networks. But there's, this Neville Singham,
yeah, the Chinese guy.
The Chinese guy is another guy that's not George Soros, but, he's just as insidious, and he's currently funding a lot.
The guy.
But by the way, George Soros really, really, really did a bad thing funding a lot of these left-wing attorney generals and prosecutors across the country. That was his real contribution. All right, we'll see you on Monday. Been a great show.
When the lights go down, the truth comes out.
This is built like a chicken McNugget, but...
This is After Hours with Alex Stein. No filter.
You're a globalist. You don't care about America.
No apologies.
You're a pro-abortion when you should have been aborted.
The the undisputed king of trolling.
I was recently sexually assaulted within the metaverse.
I want to vaccinate your mom.
They tried to cancel us.
Deplatforming works.
She went to kill babies, but she's still beautiful. Look at that booty on AOC. That's my favorite big booty Latina.
Politics, culture, hypocrisy.
They want them to have their penises cut off.
Uncensored and uncontrolled.
That's what I'm saying. They admit they want to cut people's penises off.
Late night just got dangerous. After Hours with Alex Stein. Coming soon to Real America's Voice. Through every storm, every moment of uncertainty,
Everybody needs to pray for Charlie Kirk right now.
Rav has stood strong.
We're not going to tolerate this stuff anymore.
Turn that anger into motivation to save this nation.
When we move together, there is power.
The cries of this widow will echo like a battle cry.
This is more than news. It's a movement.
This revolution of people taking their countries back.
A turning point. A chance to be part of something greater than yourself. Scan the QR code and stand with Rav. The story isn't over, and neither is your part in it. Step in. Be counted. Be heard. Together, we are Rav.
We will achieve American greatness. And we are just getting.
Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved Rav app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. Rav is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access, plus commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the Rav app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play.